What if I told you that some of the foods you've been feeding your elderly loved ones, foods you thought were healthy, might actually be putting them at risk? I know it sounds hard to believe. You've probably been told for years that nuts are the perfect snack, packed with healthy fats, fiber, and protein. But what if I told you that some of those same nuts could be causing more harm than good, especially for seniors? You see, as our bodies age, our nutritional needs change. What was once a harmless snack could be causing digestive issues, inflammation, or worse, and you as their caregiver might not even know the difference. It's time to rethink the choices you're making. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to take you on a journey into the surprising truth about nuts and their impact on your loved one's health. I'll reveal 4 nuts that you should never touch, and 4 that you must include in their diet to support their health in ways you probably never imagined. Trust me, you're going to be shocked by the science behind all of this. Imagine being able to make a real positive change in your loved one's health with just a few simple tweaks to their diet. In the next few minutes, you'll understand exactly how to do just that. So grab a seat and get ready, because what I'm about to share could make all the difference. But before we dive in, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to Elder Mature Moments for more eye-opening tips on elderly care. And don't forget to hit that bell so you never miss a video. Now let's get started on this important journey together. When it comes to elderly care, diet isn't just important, it can be the fine line between comfort and complication, between feeling energetic and vibrant, or sluggish and sick. And what's most surprising, it's not always the big stuff that does the damage. Sometimes it's the small things we overlook, the ones we think are healthy, like nuts. Yes, nuts. You may not realize it, but certain nuts could be quietly causing more harm than good to the seniors you care about. From blood pressure spikes, to gut discomfort, to dangerous allergic responses that worsen with age, some nuts are just not meant for aging bodies. And here's the thing, most people have no idea. They offer them up in trail mix or grind them into nut butters, thinking they're doing something good. But for an older body, things work differently. A nut that supports a young adult's energy could wreak havoc on an 80-year-old's digestion or heart rhythm. Let me show you why. Because the first nut I'm going to talk about can cause severe reactions in seniors, and not just the obvious allergic kind. I'm talking about side effects that creep up slowly, like memory fog, increased fatigue, or even worsened arthritis pain. But that's not the only one. There's a nut that's hiding in plain sight, in pantries, snack bars, even healthy senior meal plans. It looks harmless, maybe even familiar, but for some seniors it's like poison to their joints and blood vessels. And we're going to get to that in just a moment. But before I reveal which nut is the most dangerous, and I promise it's one you probably have in your kitchen right now, let's shift gears for a second. Let's talk about the good ones. The 4 nuts that you should be feeding your elderly loved one. The ones that are actually backed by research for their brain support, heart health, immune strength, and even bone preservation. These nuts are like nature's medicine when used correctly. They can boost well-being in ways that pills often can't. And one of them is so underrated it barely makes the headlines. But it has a quiet superpower that could help reduce inflammation, improve memory, and even support better sleep in older adults. You're about to hear all 4 and what makes each of them uniquely powerful for aging bodies. But remember, every nut I mention from this point forward isn't just food, it's a tool for wellness, or in the wrong case, a trigger for trouble. So let's take a closer look. What should you really be feeding the seniors you love? Stay with me, because what you learn next might change your grocery list forever. Let me tell you about a client I once worked with. Her name was Angela. Her grandmother, a sweet, soft-spoken woman in her late 80s, had always been in relatively good health. No major issues, always sharp-minded, with a gentle laugh that warmed the room. But something changed. Out of nowhere, she started complaining about stomach pain, bloating, and even occasional nausea. At first, they chalked it up to age. It's probably just part of getting older, they said. Maybe her digestion was slowing down, or she was just reacting to other medication. You know how that goes. But something didn't sit right. They took her to a doctor. Tests came back normal. No ulcers, no infections, nothing obvious. But every week she got a little weaker, a little more tired. She began skipping meals, avoiding her favorite walk. And then during a conversation, Angela casually mentioned that her grandmother loved snacking on a particular kind of nut. Every day, sometimes twice a day. It seemed innocent enough. It was in her trail mix. It was roasted, salted. She loved the crunch. She thought she was making a smart snack choice. But little did she know that very nut was silently working against her body. What if I told you everything you thought you knew about elderly care was missing something? I'm not talking about the medications, the checkups, the walking aids, or even the meal plans. I'm talking about the quiet moments, the ones no one talks about, the ones that happen behind closed bathroom doors, moments where your aging mother or your once strong father is silently struggling, not with a disease, not with memory loss, but with something so personal, so human, it often goes unnoticed. Post-toileting hygiene. Now wait, don't scroll away just yet. I know it's not the most glamorous topic, but let me ask you this. What if the difference between your loved one living in quiet dignity or daily discomfort came down to how they clean themselves after using the toilet? It sounds simple, it sounds small, but for them, it can mean everything. In these next few minutes, I want to walk with you into a part of elderly care that's often overlooked, avoided, or brushed under the rug because it's uncomfortable, because it's private, but it's real, and your loved one, they're living it every day. You see, when we think of hygiene, we often picture bath time or brushing teeth. But toileting, that's where independence starts to fade. That's where pride turns to silence. That's where they start pretending they're fine, but deep down, they're not. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you 4 simple, thoughtful ways to make this process easier, not just for them, but for you too. Methods that are gentle, effective, and respectful. Methods that restore not just cleanliness, but confidence. And if you stick with me to the very end, I'm going to share one surprisingly powerful solution that many caregivers don't even consider yet. It can change everything. You won't find this kind of insight just anywhere, but here at Elder Mature Moments, we talk about the real stuff, because our elders deserve more than surface level care. They deserve compassion, dignity, and solutions that actually work. So if you care deeply about someone in their golden years, or if you're just someone who wants to do better by them, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Join this growing community of everyday heroes just like you, who are learning, growing, and showing up for their loved ones every single day. You ready? Let's dive in. When we think of elderly care, we usually think about mobility aids, walkers, wheelchairs, railings near the bed. We think of medication schedules, doctor's appointments, maybe even memory loss. But there's one piece of the puzzle, so essential, so intimate, that it often goes untouched. It's not flashy, it's not talked about at dinner table, but it affects everything: their confidence, their health, even their willingness to ask for help. Hygiene after toileting. Now take a moment. Have you ever really considered what that looks like, feels like for someone whose hands don't work the way they used to, whose balance is a little shaky, whose privacy feels like it's slipping away day by day? You might think, we've got it covered, we help them when needed, we clean up, we do our best. But what if I told you that even with the best intentions, there are still gaps, small ones, but dangerous ones. Gaps that leave room for rashes, infections, even depression, because nothing chips away at a person's dignity faster than feeling unclean and unable to fix it themselves. And here's where it gets even more important. Some of these issues don't show up right away. They creep in: a bit of skin irritation, a subtle smell, a hesitant look when you ask if they're alright. They won't tell you, not at first. Maybe not ever, because saying I need help cleaning myself, that's not easy. But the signs? Oh, they're there. There's the subtle discomfort when they sit, the shift in mood, the quiet avoidance of social visits. And yes, there are small, simple tools that can help. Some so obvious it's almost unbelievable we don't all use them. But here's the twist. Most people don't even know they exist. There's one tool in particular, one that could change everything. It's not high-tech, it's not expensive, but it gives independence back to someone who's felt it slowly slipping away. And no, it's not just about wiping better, it's about doing it without pain, without help, without feeling less than. But hold on, Because that's just the beginning. There's another way. One that's completely overlooked in most homes. Not because it's hidden, but because we don't think about it. We're too focused on doing and not enough on rethinking. And when I show you this method, when you hear the story that goes with it, you'll wonder why it's not the first thing people talk about when it comes to elder hygiene, but we're not quite there yet. Because before we dive into the how, we need to understand why this matters more than we realize. So stay with me, because what comes next could completely shift the way you care for the one you love. I remember this one family I worked with. They were caring for their father, mid-80s. Proud man, military background, always neat, always in control of things. But lately, something had changed. He stopped smiling as much, he avoided sitting too long, and when asked if he needed help, he always said no, polite, reserved, embarrassed. But his daughter noticed something: redness, discomfort, that slightly sour smell that clings no matter how many showers he takes. She called me one evening, her voice quiet, almost ashamed. "We think it's the toilet paper," she said. "He says it burns. It doesn't clean right. And honestly, I think it's hurting more than helping." So we made one simple switch. Gentle, fragrance-free, alcohol-free wet wipes. That's it. The difference, immediate. He started cleaning himself more willingly, his skin healed. And most importantly, he got a little bit of his dignity back. Now here's the thing no one tells you. Toilet paper, it's dry, it can scrape, it doesn't always clean thoroughly, especially for someone with arthritis, or trembling hands, or limited reach. What most people don't realize is this: elderly skin isn't like ours. It's thinner, more fragile, easier to break. That harsh abrasive tissue we use every day, it can cause tiny tears, micro injuries that invite bacteria, and the cycle begins. Irritation, infection, discomfort, shame. But wet wipes, especially the right kind, offer a gentle clean. They soothe instead of scratch. They moisturize instead of dry out. Yet here's where the misunderstanding comes in. Most folks still think wipes are just for babies, for diaper changes, for messes on the go. But for an aging loved one, they can be a quiet revolution. You wouldn't hand sandpaper to someone with a sunburn, so why give dry toilet paper to someone whose skin is already hurting? This small shift, just a pack of wipes on the bathroom counter, can mean everything. It's a whisper of care, a sign that says, "I see you, I respect your comfort, you matter." But that's just one piece of the puzzle. There's another method, one that isn't about what they use, but how they're supported in using it. It's simple, it's smart, and it could take a burden off their body and their mind. Let's take a closer look at that together. Let me tell you about Angela. Her mother, Miss Hayes, was in her late 70s, bright woman, former school teacher, always had her lipstick on even just to sit by the window and read. But arthritis had taken its toll. Her hands, once graceful and steady from years of writing on chalkboards, were now stiff, swollen, and shaking. Reaching back to clean herself after using the toilet became, well, nearly impossible. Angela told me she tries to do it herself, but she ends up sore. She cries when I offer help, and I don't want to take that last bit of privacy from her. And I understood, because what many people don't realize is that toileting is personal. It's not just about hygiene, it's about dignity, independence, feeling like an adult, not a burden. So I suggested something that most families overlook: a simple bidet attachment. Nothing fancy, no remodeling, just a device that fits right onto the existing toilet seat, connected to the water line. Angela was hesitant at first. "Isn't that a luxury item?" she asked. "Isn't it complicated?" But within a week of using it, everything changed. Mrs. Hayes was smiling again. Not because she was pain-free, arthritis doesn't vanish, but because she had control. She could clean herself thoroughly without twisting, without asking for help. She could walk away from the toilet feeling fresh and proud. Now here's the hidden truth. Bidets reduce physical strain. No need to reach, bend, or wipe aggressively. The gentle stream of water does the hard part safely, efficiently, and with surprising comfort. And when you add in a soft towel or a dab with a wipe afterward, that's it. You've got a hygiene routine that's simple, effective, and respectful. It also reduces toilet paper use, which means fewer irritants and less plumbing trouble, something caregivers know all too well. But here's the real kicker. People think bidet are foreign, too fancy, only for the rich or the Europeans, but that's just a myth. Today's bidet attachments are affordable, easy to install, no plumber needed, and once they're in place, they quietly transform lives. They bring comfort back into the bathroom. They hand back control to someone who's lost so much of it. And that kind of independence, it's priceless. But we're not done, because as powerful as bidet and wipes are, there's another method, one that most caregivers don't think about, a simple little add-on that supports the how, not just what we use, but how the elderly can physically manage the process. Trust me, this next one might just surprise you. Now let's talk about something that often gets overlooked in elderly care, and I mean really overlooked. It's not high-tech, it's not expensive, but it can be life-changing. Let me take you back to a visit I made a couple of years ago. The family I worked with had a father named Mr. Calvin, big strong man in his day, retired carpenter, hands like seasoned oak, but time had caught up with him. He could barely lower himself onto the toilet without grimacing, and when it came time to clean up after, the struggle wasn't just physical, it was emotional. His daughter Marcia pulled me aside one day and said, "Dad waits until he absolutely can't hold it anymore. It's like he's afraid of the toilet." And I told her something simple, something many people never consider. Let's raise the seat. We installed a raised toilet seat with hand grips, just a few extra inches, but it changed everything. Suddenly Mr. Calvin could lower himself without pain. He could shift and clean without losing balance. And most importantly, he didn't need help. You see, when a toilet seat is too low, an elderly person has to squat deeper, and that's hard on the knees, the hips, the back. It puts them in a vulnerable position, especially if they already struggle with balance or stiffness. But a raised toilet seat, it minimizes the movement, it reduces the pressure on joints, it puts the body in a safer, more natural position, and that makes cleaning up afterwards far easier. It's not just about sitting and standing, it's about what happens while they're seated. It's about comfort, ease, and the ability to move just enough to clean up without strain or shame. Now here's the part most people miss. Some think these seats are only for seniors who are just starting to have trouble, but that's a misunderstanding. The truth is, mobility doesn't decline in a straight line. There are good days, there are bad ones, and sometimes all it takes is a minor support, a little help at the right height to keep someone steady and safe. And here's something else to think about. How many falls happen in the bathroom? More than we care to admit. So when we use raised toilet seats, we're not just helping with hygiene, we're preventing falls, injuries, and fear. We're giving someone the confidence to go to the bathroom without anxiety, to trust their body again, even just a little, and that dignity, that independence, it's everything. Now we've talked about wet wipes, we've explored bidets, and we've just uncovered the power of a raised toilet seat. But there's one last method I want to share with you, and it's not a gadget, it's not even something you have to buy, it's a habit, simple, practical, and often forgotten. But if you stick around for this next part, you'll see how it can quietly transform your loved one's hygiene routine, day after day. Let's dive into it. Let me share something personal with you. There was a sweet older gentleman I worked with, Mr. Henry, 82 years old, lived with his daughter, Angela, kind soul, proud man, didn't want to burden anyone, didn't want to ask for help even when he really needed it. Angela noticed things weren't right, bathroom trips were taking longer, she found soiled laundry hidden in the hamper, the wipes they bought remained untouched, something was wrong, but he wouldn't say a word. Finally, one day Angela sat down with him, no pressure, no judgment, just a simple gentle question. "Dad, is there anything about the bathroom that's hard for you?" And that's when he broke down, tears in his eyes, hands trembling. He said, "I don't want you seeing me like that." It wasn't the lack of tools, it wasn't that he didn't care about hygiene, it was the silence, the fear of embarrassment, the pride that kept him from speaking up, the loneliness that often creeps in when we pretend everything's fine. You see, sometimes the most powerful solution isn't a product, it's a conversation. What made the difference for Mr. Henry wasn't just a raised seat or wipes, it was the routine Angela gently put in place after that talk. She began checking in with him twice a day at the same times, not to nag, not to control, but to reassure him that help was always there and that it was okay to ask. And guess what happened? The tension melted, the shame faded, and toileting became something manageable, predictable, safe. Because here's the truth, routine builds trust, it replaces awkwardness with comfort, it gives structure to a task that can feel vulnerable or chaotic. When a loved one knows when help is coming and who it's coming from, the stress of not knowing disappears. And when communication is open, when we ask instead of assume, it gives them their voice back. It tells them, you're still in charge, your dignity still matters. But here's a common mistake we see all the time. Caregivers with the best of intentions take over everything. We say, don't worry, I'll handle it. And in doing so, we unintentionally silence the very people we're trying to support. Because sometimes, help without conversation feels like control, but help with communication, that feels like love. So ask, what makes you most comfortable? Is there anything you'd like me to do differently? Would you prefer I help at certain times of day? These small questions create big shifts, because routine isn't just about time, it's about trust, and communication isn't just about talking, it's about connection. Now, we've looked at wet wipes, we've explored bidets, we've discussed raised toilet seats, and we've just uncovered the power of routine and communication. But what does it all look like when it comes together? Let's take these pieces and see how they work in real life as a complete, compassionate approach to helping our elderly loved ones feel safe, clean, and dignified. Stick with me, you don't want to miss what comes next. It's easy to overlook these things. Life gets busy. We're juggling jobs, kids, errands, doctor's appointments, and in the middle of all that, it's not unusual to miss the little things, like how grandpa winces when he stands from the toilet, or how mom avoids going to the bathroom when others are around, or how there's always a faint odor, no matter how often you clean. But pause with me for a moment, take a breath, and just imagine what it must feel like for them. Imagine being in their shoes. Your body doesn't move the way it used to, your hands feel stiff, your back aches, and something as private and personal as wiping becomes difficult, even painful. You're embarrassed. You don't want to ask your daughter, your son, your caregiver, so you say nothing. You try your best, but you don't feel clean. And over time, that shame, it weighs heavy, not just physically but emotionally. You feel like you're losing a part of yourself, your independence, your dignity, all over something as basic as using the bathroom. And here's the truth. Many of our loved ones feel this way, they just won't say it out loud. So I want to ask you something. What would you do if you saw the signs, if you noticed a change in their behavior, or they stopped smiling as much, or suddenly they were avoiding going out, even for short trips? Would you know that toileting struggles might be the hidden cause? Would you know how to respond not with pity, but with compassion? This is the moment, right here, where everything can shift. Because now, you're not just reacting, you're aware, you're prepared. You understand that a simple bidet, a gentle wipe, a raised seat, and even a calm, consistent routine can all become part of a bigger solution. You're not just offering help, you're restoring dignity. You're not just providing tools, you're creating comfort. You're not just checking a box, you're building trust. And that's the beautiful thing about awareness. Once you have it, you can't unsee the need. You become someone your loved one can lean on, not out of obligation, but out of respect, and when you take these small steps, when you apply the tips we've talked about, when you create a supportive environment without shame, you're turning a stressful situation into one of comfort, peace, and grace. You're not waiting for a crisis to take action. You're taking control quietly, confidently, with heart. So here's what I want you to hold on to. These solutions may be simple, but their impact is powerful. You don't have to overhaul your life. You just need to stay present, listen, observe, and act with intention. And when you do that, you'll not only ease your loved one's daily burden, you'll strengthen the bond you share one moment at a time. Because at the end of the day, it's not about products or procedures. It's about people and the care we show them in the quiet in-between moments. That's where love lives, and that's where change begins. Let's keep going. Let's bring all of this together and talk about how you can start putting these changes in motion today. Let's be honest, it's easier to put these things off, to tell ourselves they're managing fine, or we'll deal with it later. But here's the hard truth: ignoring the early signs doesn't just affect comfort, it opens the door to much more serious consequences. Without proper hygiene, minor skin irritation can quickly become a rash can become an infection, and an infection, it can lead to hospitalization, sometimes even sepsis. All from a task so private, so basic, that it's often brushed aside. And then there's the emotional toll. When your loved one feels unclean, they stop going out, they avoid social visits, they lose confidence, that spark dims, one missed step becomes a cascade of consequences, physically, emotionally, mentally. But it doesn't have to go that way, because now you know better. You've seen what can help: wet wipes that soothe rather than irritate, bidets that restore independence, raised seats that ease movement, and most of all, routine and open communication that break the silence around this topic. You have the tools, you have the awareness, you have the heart. This right here is the turning point, because while elderly care can feel overwhelming, there's power in simplicity, there's strength in small intentional changes. You're not just giving comfort, you're giving control. You're helping your loved one feel seen, respected, and safe. And there's something deeply moving in that, because this isn't just caregiving, it's love in action, it's compassion without words, it's dignity restored quietly, gently, day by day. So if no one else has told you, you're doing something that matters, and what comes next is about putting all this into practice in a way that fits your life and truly supports theirs. Let's talk about how to begin right now, right here, with confidence and care. So let's bring it all together for a moment. We've uncovered 4 simple yet powerful methods that can absolutely change the toileting experience for your elderly loved one. First, wet wipes, gentle on aging skin, making cleanliness feel soothing, not painful. Then we explored the bidet, a quiet hero for those with limited mobility, offering dignity and a touch of independence. We talked about raised toilet seats, an underrated tool that can reduce strain, prevent falls, and make movement easier without needing a complete bathroom renovation. And we ended with something deeper: routine and communication, a daily rhythm that builds trust, replaces shame with comfort, and turns awkward moments into opportunities for love and connection. But here's the twist: I promised you one more simple solution, didn't? And trust me, you'll want to come back for that, because it's the kind of tip that slips under the radar, but once you know it, you'll wonder how you ever manage without it. Now let me ask you something: which one of these stood out to you the most? Was it the bidet, the raised seat, or maybe you're realizing the power of just having that conversation? Have you tried any of these already? Or maybe you've discovered a tip of your own that's worked wonders. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. Let's talk about it in the comments. Your experience might just help someone else who's feeling lost, overwhelmed, or unsure where to begin. And hey, if today's video gave you a little clarity, a little hope, or even just made you feel seen, do me a favor, tap that like button. It helps this message reach more people who need it just as much as you did. And don't forget to subscribe to Elder Mature Moments, because this journey we're on, it's just getting started. We've got so much more to explore together, from daily care tips to emotional support to tools that make life easier for everyone involved. So thank you for being here, thank you for caring, and thank you for doing the quiet, important work that so often goes unnoticed. You are making a difference, and I can't wait to see you in the next video, where we'll dig even deeper into the beautiful, challenging, and rewarding world of elderly care. Until then, stay patient, stay kind, and keep showing up. You've got this.